Want to go ahead and hop into this. We have a really awesome set of things we're talking through today. Want to start with intros. I gotta say this is more of a full circle moment for me personally, and I hope this also feels similar for Hannah and Dave as well. And so we have all sorts of great storytelling lined up for us today. But let's start with intros. Hannah, you want to kick us off?
I would love to. The three men in Hawaiian shirts and a gal. I will kick off for today. I'm Hannah Bravo. I'm the CEO of Loop. I think we have a lot of Loop merchants attending today. So hello to all of you and thanks for everyone for being here. I joined Loop many, many years ago in the very early days and probably in my first couple weeks had to negotiate with Dave when he was at Chubby's working together. So as Kyle said, this is absolutely a full circle moment for us, and just a really exciting one because of the problem that the integration we're introducing today solves for brands, how real it has been for Loop. And we will talk a lot more about that today as we've been trying to get our merchants over time to adopt more and more of our suite and get value out of it. There is something big and operational that holds them back from doing that cleanly. And I think this integration that we're introducing solves a lot of that. So I'm really, really excited to be here. For those of you who aren't familiar with Loop, we are the most intelligent post-purchase platform on the market. So our goal is to turn post-purchase operations into competitive advantage for merchants. We are the brains and the tools for merchants to give their customers confidence so that you can keep the customers that you paid a lot to acquire, even more to acquire now than you did 6 months ago and the 6 months before that and the many years before it. So that's introduction to Loop, and I will kick it over to Garrett maybe next.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute, bud.
Classic.
Yeah.
Garrett, one of the co-founders of Duvin. So I handle all the operations for the business, all the manufacturing, everything on that side. So we've been with GoodDay for over a year now, and then we've been with Loop for probably 5+ years now. So been really good partners. But for a little more background on Duvin, we make more leisure apparel, somewhat similar to some of the Chubby swim trunks, but also sell to more surf lifestyle boutiques. We have some collaborations with professional teams as well, so hold some licenses with NCAA, NFL. But overall, we do a lot of our own fulfillment out of our warehouse here in Orlando. So no 3PL. So as you know, Hannah noted, keeping the customers and making them happy is something that's central to our business, and we really take a lot of pride in here on the ground floor. So yeah, I think the integration with Loop has been great, and we're really excited to be one of the early adopters and really kind of grow with them as the partnership grows with Good Day.
Thanks, Garrett. I really appreciate it. And thank you to both of you for making the time today. So Kyle Hency, co-founder and CEO at GoodDay. In my former life, I was wearing Hawaiian shirts every day. I still try to wear Hawaiian shirts most days. It's kind of ironic that we all went Hawaiian shirt in the intro slide here and then not in real life. But I am wearing my Chubbies. I tell brands as I work with them often, and this is just true. I roll out of bed every day thinking of myself as a short salesman because that's mostly what I've done in my career is slang shorts. And I really do love the brand side of what we're doing. Good Day was very much born out of pain that we experienced while building Chubbies. And that's a recurring theme that we'll touch on multiple times throughout this, which is just we're really, really excited to be building the kind of next generation of ERP for Shopify brands, but doing it from a real brand operator's point of view. So that's what gets me excited. That's what gets me excited about what we're able to do with Loop here. This is just a real problem that we experienced for years, and pretty much no one has actually attacked it because it's like dressed up in really hard. Like no one does these things because they're just hard to solve. And now we're attacking it together. And I'm quite confident we're going to get to some really great places in returns accounting. Go ahead, Dave. You're up next.
Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. Also was with Kyle at Chubby's. As some of you may know, I lead product here at GoodDay, so responsible for all kind of product engineering, delivery. My favorite days are the ones where I'm getting a mix of getting to talk to our merchants and customers, and then also going and working with the engineering team to try and solve their problems. So excited to roll this out. This really is, from kind of the earliest days of working on Loop with Chubbies all the way to now. I think that this challenge is kind of near and dear to my heart. When we got together with the Loop team to start building the integration, there was a couple team members that I had worked with probably 8 years ago now, when we were first getting Loop going, and that I was now getting to kind of interface with and come up with what this solution would look like. And so incredible team over there, moved super quick. We feel very grateful to Hannah and the team for kind of leaning into this with us and helping us build a really deeply integrated, deeply native kind of return solution here. So for us, we think about all that post-purchase stuff that Hannah's talking about. We want to enable that from the brand side on the inventory, the accounting, the operations behind that, and make sure that we keep that really clean and complete visibility. And so I think that hopefully that's what we'll talk through a little bit more today, is kind of what are the benefits of that. And that's the stuff that we're trying to engineer here at GoodDay every day.
There we go. All right, we're going to hop into it now. So some guardrails I always like to throw out early. In general, when I do these things, I like to keep them light and fun. So we'll do a fair bit of goofing around, but also I just open up all the settings on these Zoom webinars. So you guys can chat with each other. You can chat with us. You can raise your hand. You can do a variety of different things. If you want to jump into this video and talk on this thing, raise your hand and we can pull you in here if you have something great to say. So it's going to be pretty loose in there, but also note that with that responsibility comes, behave like an adult, be a responsible, good steward of the ecosystem here, and try to help folks around you. Everybody here is here to learn something today. So, and we want to be particularly thankful of Garrett, who's giving us time to just tell you from the front lines. He just implemented the GoodDay and Loop integration last week. So he's all right, we're doing this, and now we're talking to the world about it. So it's straight from the front lines, hot off the press, and he's here to just help you. So think about that as you're working through this. If there are perspectives you have, share them in the chat. That might be helpful to the other groups. Okay. So here's our lay of the land and what we're going through today. We're going to first talk about Loop and GoodDay. We've talked about some of it. I think there are some other salient points we want to pull out here quickly. Dave's then going to hop into the integration itself and talk through the mechanics of what's happening here. He's also going to give us a demo of GoodDay and Loop and just give folks a visual of exactly what's happening. And then we'll have Garrett talk to kind of what was his life like in the pre-times, the times when these things were not quite integrated and not flowing, and then how are they working today? And again, bear with us, it's been a week. So he's just telling you authentically and transparently what's going on at Duvin. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time at the end doing a bit of vision, just to take the headline and share with you the intention here. This is day one of the GoodDay and Loop story, and we could not be closer partners if we tried. And we've begun to really build well together, but we're trying to be examples to the rest of the ecosystem on how truly deeply you can build with your other partners. And so we're intending to go deeper and deeper and deeper. We'll call out some of the longer term vision for the integration. And then at the end, we'll have live Q&A. And again, a big piece of this is we're going to share what we have, but also we need to learn from you. We need to know what questions you have, and I'm sure your peers will be in here. We now have 66 total folks in here, so there's a good number of really great operators in there to learn from. All right, so we'll talk through Loop and GoodDay. And the only other thing I would add from the kind of beginning intro that Hannah gave was just that time is a wild thing. And Loop is creeping up on 10 years of building and innovating in their space on behalf of brands. 10 years ago, Dave was standing over his brother's shoulder, identifying the problem that Chubbies had. Today, Dave's brother works at GoodDay. Dave's leading the product at GoodDay. Some of these things you genuinely can't make up. I share all of that because in many, many ways, there's many levels. GoodDay could not exist without Loop being built before it. That's partly a human thing, which is Dave and I have learned a lot from observing Loop kind of build what we would argue is the best technology in their space, and certainly the most focused on solving real merchant problems. But ultimately, that was 2016, 2017 timeframe. And it's amazing to see Loop at 5,000 plus merchants, right? GoodDay could not be here without it. Now, as we're standing here looking at the whole picture, we're saying, wow, that returns accounting problem that we were experiencing 8, plus years ago is still there. At Chubby's, we did a lot of this stuff manually. Like, even when we were using Loop and we were using NetSuite at the time, we were still, the returns accounting problem was still lingering. It wasn't solved. And so with the entire thing I want folks to take away here, this is day one of us attacking that problem and creating a world where it just is solved if you're on Shopify and Loop and GoodDay. So wanted to give you that context, but at the end of the day, connecting this back to where I started, this is real brand operators solving real brand problems. And that's what I love about the partnership that we've struck in here, is that is true no matter who you meet at Loop, that is true no matter who you meet at GoodDay, and we're attacking these things, I would argue, in the right, most kind of authentic way. Hannah, anything you'd add from the Loop side? Or any
I think
immediate
so.
thoughts?
That was great, Kyle. Thank you. GoodDay wouldn't exist without Loop. Loop wouldn't exist without Chubby's. What a weird world we live in here, but it's a fun one. I think that the simplest way to put it, I suppose, is that returns of any variety cause accounting headache, period. It makes it more complicated to close the books. Dave lived this himself as the CFO of Chubby's. But then when you layer in everything Loop aims to bring to the returns opportunity for brands, it just layers on more and more and more complexity. So like, core challenge of it is like timing and uncertainty in reconciliation as it relates to returns, whether it's like revenue reversal complexity or restocking and inventory complexity, inventory valuation complexity, multi-period and multi-channel, and return outcomes are different in terms of how you need to treat them, whether it's a refund or a store credit or an exchange. And Loop's whole ethos is to broaden what brands can bring to that problem so that they can keep more of the money within the business and make the customers they acquired more valuable over time. But each additional way that Loop aims to do that just brings more operational complexity to the business. And so the beauty of this integration is it makes that complexity simple so that you can have both the outcomes you want in the customer experience and the full sort of expression of what the post-purchase journey should be. And it doesn't kill you on the operational side. And this truly, you said, Kyle, I think this is sort of first of its kind, which is crazy to say, to solve that problem. It seems like something that should have been solved sooner, but here we are in 2026, bringing to the world the answer to that problem. So I think that's the key. We looked at sort of all of the calls that we have with our 5,000 plus merchants when we're talking about turning on some more functionality, some more exchange functionality, full catalog exchanges through Shop Now. 25% of those calls have reconciliation and accounting discussion at the core of them. So like, these brands are ready to make the jump to get the benefit of the broader post-purchase experience, and they are shackled by the operational impact of that. And so I guess that's the simplest way to say why I'm so excited about what we're introducing today, because I think it allows you to get that benefit while making the operational impact much more palatable.
Love that. Love that. All right. We're going to hop into the next piece of this, which is, Dave, I'll let you kind of talk through what you're seeing is the purpose for the integration, why it matters, what's the pain. It's a lot. I'm sure it's a lot of the things we're talking to. Hopefully we didn't steal too much of your thunder. But if you could kind of talk through your version of it, then we can use that to hop into some of the slides you created in the demo.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, maybe I think if you jump to the next slide,
cool.
I dropped like a little graphic in here. So just to be clear, I'm not the designer here at GoodDay, but I always like having a visual. I think this is the thing that sticks with me the most. And Hannah actually mentioned it just now, right? There are revenue side, what's happening with your revenue, what's happening with store credit versus exchanges versus refunds, all that stuff. And then there's inventory side movements. And that's one return, but two completely different life cycles, two completely different paths that can be taken across multiple different systems, right? So if you think about that revenues life cycle, that is, largely driven by Loop and Shopify. If you think about the inventory life cycle, that's largely driven by Loop and your WMS, Shapiro, in the case of a lot of our merchants, including Duvin. And so, some of those things are overlapping, right? Returns got to get initiated at some point. Some kind of outcome, like Hannah mentioned, is going to happen there, and whatever the trigger is. But then there's a lot of stuff happening in between, particularly on the inventory side. And so that's the side that, like, I think we feel really passionate about here at GoodDay, is just completing that inventory lifecycle and not leaving any moment where you don't have visibility into your inventory, where you can't reconcile your inventory, where you don't know where it is, where you have to run different reports and stitch them together. And so the first big swing we took at returns as we were building this out was really focused on getting all these events into our two ledgers, our inventory ledger and our revenue ledger, to really try and attack these and say, hey, like, one return, one set of events on that return, but they need to be reflected in different ways. There's different kind of inventory events from revenue events, and with some overlaps in between. And so that's what we're really excited about here is, if you look at that moment from the return initiated, now we create that in GoodDay in a draft. But then the moment something shipped, well, now that is a return that's in transit back to you. And that's the part where things really, from an inventory and accounting standpoint, does start to go awry. It's hard to keep track of. And so from that point onwards, GoodDay's inventory ledger is going to work for you and trying to keep things reconciled through the different states, from shipment to it's delivered to, like, has it actually been worked in the warehouse, to what is happening with those goods. Are they being restocked or scrapped or whatever it is? At the same time, Loop is helping and really driving a lot of the triggers. Depending upon the workflows and policies that you set up, they're able to automatically drive a lot of the triggers back to Shopify, or of like an exchange or store credit or a refund. And so the hard part over there that we've been working closely with them on is really what's happening in Loop, what's happening in Shopify, reconciling between the two, deduping the different return-oriented events in those two systems to help you record the right revenue impacts, the right store credit impacts. And so we really tried to think about it from the beginning here as, this is not this is not some single linear path like other ERPs build it as, right? They start from the accounting perspective and they try to jam stuff back in operationally to make it work. Where we started was saying, okay, there's an operational reality. There's two life cycles here. We need to be tracking both of those. They are related, but moving independently often of each other. And so I think that starting from that kind of first principles approach has helped us build what should be a really scalable integration and solution for our merchants like Duvin.
Love it. Do you wanna show a bit of the product?
I can take over. Yeah.
All right.
So,
And again, feel free to chime in on the fly if you guys have questions. I'm excited for Dave to share this.
all right. So just starting here, what people are kind of used to are, maybe they're used to their Loop Returns admin. Maybe they're used to orders in Shopify with different return statuses. GoodDay's goal is to bring that all together into a single RMA with the full life cycle and really focus that in on those inventory and revenue events. So bring it kind of all together here, be the one place where you can see, hey, what's the status of the ship hero, in this case, export? What's the status of those goods? Have they been pulled back? What is the outcome of them? Did we receive them and move them back into sellable or unsellable, or was it a write-off? What is the state of those goods? And then work with Loop to flag stuff when needed. And so, that's a really critical workflow for Loop is when something happens that's unexpected in the warehouse, how does that information get back up into Loop? And so that's what GoodDay is now taking care of, is that we are grabbing those signals from the warehouse. We are pushing flags back up into Loop if something is unexpected. And with this, we're able to hopefully, the goal is to kind of keep the warehouse ops and ops people closer to GoodDay and Ship Hero in this case, and then allow CX to do what they need to do to go take care of customers and have them stay closer up into Loop and Shopify and whatever their customer service platform is. And hopefully GoodDay is that conduit there. One less system, hopefully, for CX to learn as well. And so that's kind of what you're seeing here is this return has gone through its life cycle. GoodDay pushed it down to Ship Hero automatically and then received a flag back up from Ship Hero when it was processed in there and pushed that back up to Loop saying, hey, there's a problem. The item that we were expecting to receive wasn't in there. How do we want to handle it? And what it shows in the interim, right, is instead of saying and just moving these units out of into a process state or losing track of them, we retain the inventory in a returns in transit state in our ledger. So at any and all times up until it's either been written off or received and restocked or whatever it is, you're going to see those units and the lot that was associated with them from that original fulfillment. So not just the units, but also the cost that they were fulfilled at, because you have that lot tying the full life cycle together. You're going to see those in GoodDay. So you're going to see in your GoodDay inventory ledger, you're going to be able to reference that in this case, the return that's coming back in this in transit state that is showing up, it is associated with the original lot that it was shipped out on from whatever that was, a day ago, a week ago, 3 months ago. And so you're not losing that cost associated with that original fulfillment either when those returns are coming back. And so this is kind of a quick snapshot view that I wanted to give of a few of the different screens and processes and how everything's linked together in here in GoodDay. The other piece that I'm really excited about is just the whole revenue side. We've turned that on for Duvin, and we're working through making sure that every single return is captured as its own separate, distinct journal entry. That we have those legs of the return coming back and then store credit being created or an exchange or a refund, that's being debited against your returns reserve, separate from the inventory events that are, when you're restocking it, are coming back into your inventory and against your COGS. And so this is quick view of it, but every single return in here is going to be going through this same flow, whether it's a loop return or a wholesale return. If you're running a wholesale business, they're all going to have the same process, the same granular line item level details that capture every change in the state of the inventory along the way.
I love it. I would just say, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in chat, and we'll try to address them on the fly. Let's hop in and let Garrett talk to the Duvin experience. And why don't you just start by introducing the brand itself? Folks here might not know of the brand.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been in business about 12 years now, based in Florida. So make an array of leisure-inspired apparel, deal with about 350 different retailers, from small specialty mom and pop surf shops to the bigger box accounts. So the business as a whole is about 50-50 from D2C and B2B. So I think that kind of led me to really being excited about this integration with Loop, as we've been with them for about 5 years now, but solely just from the D2C side. So the B2B returns process has been very manual to date, and that's what I'm truly really excited about. This is to have one dashboard that you can fully kind of track everything from A to Z. And as they've noted, there's a whole array of financial problems that go along with the returns process, especially I think on the B2B side. So for us, we're a really small team, so finding any efficiencies where we can is always the priority. So I think as we look forward with this integration, it's going to be key for us to be able to just have everything in one place. The warehouse team, as they noted, having clear visibility of what are we expecting, and then from the financial side of things, what is the value of the return, how are we processing it, who is it coming from, and just kind of reconciling everything from that end. So Yeah, I think for us, the past couple years, we've really been focused on adding, the right tech as we, really prepare ourselves for scale. So I think, it's finding the right partners and where are we losing hours in the day? And, the returns process has just been a thorn in the side. And I'm sure anybody who runs a wholesale business, and, as it continues to scale, it's not going to go away. It's something that's going to stay, and it's just going to incrementally scale. So what processes do you have, in place to help minimize?
I love that. We haven't really talked about multiple channels, right? And so I think what I heard there is basically that particularly the B2B, because Loop is doing such a great job in the direct business, you have a seamless view and a dynamic idea of that return inventory. And B2B, it was just kind of a black hole. So then you're like manually scrapping through warehouse information to try to figure out what's happening there. So that's one, I would say one win, cool. We took a manual process, we systematized it, and we're going to begin to scale that. I'm curious, what were you doing previously as it relates to reporting this into your financials and your accounting, your COGS, your revenue, et cetera?
I mean, it's very manual to date. So I think, everything's being pulled per platform and then using Excel sheets to kind of compile everything. So I think, having everything, into one platform is obviously the gold standard. So yeah, from a cost of goods perspective, like I'm very hyper focused on, where inventory is moving, what's the impact to the cost of goods, when is it coming off and everything like that. So I think the integration makes a ton of sense and something that, can encompass both channels of the business because, each one has a growth plan on its own.
I love that. Hannah, any follow-up questions from Loop's side?
Don't know that I have any at the moment.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I think the observation that I'm having is that it feels like there's two layers of like manual interactions that were the V1 of this right out of the gates is going to hit on pretty directly. I love that this is the first strike on the returns accounting simplicity, right? I think something that feels a little bit sneaky, especially for me who have like been pretty close to this information, is just how integral the WMS system is to this whole set of interactions. If I even think back to the beginning of this conversation, it was like Shopify and Loop and GoodDay. And it's actually Shopify, Loop, and GoodDay and the WMS, whichever WMS it is. And I think we're integrated in like 100 of these things at this point. And ultimately, that's where a lot of this operation is living. And so I do think that that's like we need to continue to refine like what is happening there and how does it serve the merchant in a way that is really good for them. So remind me, for Duvin, are you self-fulfilling or are you using a 3PL?
We're self-fulfilling.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't have any 3PLs right now. So I think that's another aspect of this is we're trying to find every efficiency that we can with a small team, small warehouse team. They're getting returns obviously through the website side of things and then also from B2B. And I think having just a more seamless process from A to Z of creating every return in GoodDay with the integration now that we're doing for retailers and then also automatically for any website returns. I think that's where I'm very excited about it for the warehouse team because their time is valuable. And if they get a return and they don't know what it's for and they don't know how to process it, then that creates a lot more time.
Cool.
Garrett, what six days in or whatever it is that you've had with the integration, what was your very initial instinct of okay, I want this next? Do you already have your wish
Great
list?
question.
I think the biggest thing from my standpoint, and I'm not qualified to speak on every financial aspect of the business, but I think having a QuickBooks, integration with the credit memos and sending those out to retailers is one of the biggest things from my end because a lot of times with our B2B business, when we're processing returns and they're sending product back, they want, complete visibility, which is great with the new setup and you can see visibility for everything and you can send that to them. But they're constantly, where's my credit memo? I want to pay these invoices, but I need a credit memo. So I think creating it in the new integration is great, but being able for that to push directly through to QuickBooks would be another key thing.
Love it.
Love that. Love that. So I want to quickly talk to the future of what we're imagining here, just because I think it's really important to touch on this. And also just want to say thanks. We now have 3 or 4 like great questions. And so we want to make sure we leave at least 10 minutes to get to those. And also if you have other questions, please drop them in. So now we're okay, awesome. And by the way, I think some of this is like really important. Only Loop and GoodDay could have done some of this. This entire conversation started 90 days ago. And Dave was with 3 of the top engineers from Loop and 3 of the top engineers from GoodDay in Dallas, hacking at 90% of this was built in a 48 to 72 hour period of time. Like any good integration, there's always edges to it. But I do want to just talk to, that's just real collaboration and commitment to attacking this problem. And in a world where speed of development is just getting faster and faster and faster, I do think we've shown our teams and now our customers. And when you're innovating together like this, it's really, really special. Now, this is day 1. We have a functional integration. We have our first customer on it. We're rolling out. I think we breezed over this, but 40% of GoodDay's existing customers are also Loop customers. So we have a big month ahead of us to get everybody on board and the data flowing. But like one of the arguments I want to introduce to everybody here is just like what I'm seeing as a former operator is the best of breed tech stack is coming together, right? Loop is clearly in that seat if you're a Shopify brand. It's the market leading solution. It's the best technology. It's the deepest technology, solves these deep, deep problems. I think ShipHero is that in WMS. I think Crystal is that in EDI. You can keep going down that list. Those are just my opinions. Take them or leave them. GoodDay is working really hard to become the ERP partner in that equation. And what Hannah and I have been talking about is, man, all these AI tools have arrived and now we can build a lot more than we used to be able to build. And the question is, where are we applying that energy? Are we just all running around building what everybody else is building, and now the brands are being presented with all-in-one solutions for everything, all the time, everywhere? Or are we teaming up what we just experienced and going really deep and really thinking through the nuance of all the edges of these experiences? And that's what we're seeing as the winning path. And we're going to be, and again, this is day 1. What I would challenge the group here, all 60 or so of you who are on here, grade us on what we do from day 1 to the next 12 months, right? This is the beginning of the innovation that's coming. And in this particular case, we're going to be willing to share more information, more data, more resources to attack these problems on behalf of the brands than anyone else. So that's the opportunity we see. I'll just call out a couple of these to vision cast a little bit. I'm so excited about Loop's intelligence product. It's melting my mind a little bit that what they've built and what I've seen. And so I'm excited for folks who haven't seen elements of it yet to begin to see it. And my mind immediately jumps to, what if we took all of the inventory events that live inside of GoodDay and put them into the base of that intelligence product? Holy cow, can we help supercharge that? So you're going to have that type of thinking coming into how we both build products, right? In the case of Loop, and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Hannah, but I'm hopeful that you are now building products that no one else in your category can actually build because you have access to a really unique data set. And so I just wanted to paint that out as we really believe highly interoperable, best of breed tools in this ecosystem, and taking an ecosystem approach is the winning path. I know the GoodDay side is doubling down on that. I have some sneaking suspicion that Loop feels similarly, but Hannah, I'm curious if you have any thoughts you'd layer into that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think just starting with the partnership side of things, I think that long before GoodDay even existed, that has been Loop's sort of MO from the start. And I think we've seen that pay off in so many incredible ways for our brands. I mean, we have so many deep partnerships across the entire stack, and the best outcomes that we see for merchants is when they're really leaning into best in breed across the stack and choosing partners who also think that way, so that when they choose the rest of their stack, things like this magic we're feeling starting today start to happen. Thinking about, you definitely aren't putting words in my mouth about Loop intelligence and the data set. You said it better maybe than I would have. I think Our merchants now combined, it's like $65 billion worth of GMV. So then you think about how many orders we've seen, how many customers we've seen, how many returns we've seen, and carrier events and across that stack. So really we have transitioned from, yes, we need to be the operational backbone for post-purchase, but now what we have is an incredible asset that we can bring to brands, which is the power of that network at work every day behind the scenes. So some of the things I think about for the future of this integration is changing what I think Loop Intelligence today tells you a lot that you can't see about your own business because we see what shoppers do elsewhere and we see what's happening with carrier events across the network, many things that you can't see with your own data, but it is operationally focused. So I imagine with the future of the GoodDay integration that it turns into layering in true financial outcomes, which is some of that is missing today in the power of Loop Intelligence. So you could imagine us saying something about the order of magnitude improvement on gross margin outcomes, for an example, that right now we can't exactly tell you. We can tell you some financial outcomes, but we wouldn't be able to get to that depth. We can get to much stronger fraud signal than Loop already has. The power of our fraud network is already incredibly strong. But as you all know very well, fraud changes literally by the day because that's what it is. So you think about if we're looking at behavioral patterns today, the GoodDay data that we would pull in adds a financial dimension. Like we could see things like chargebacks and disputes and write downs on inventory, things that right now we don't have the visibility into that could strengthen, again, the power of like the brain that we want to be for our merchants in post-purchase. Things like inventory valuation and item level is another thing I get really excited about. So Kyle, you touched on the power of how inventory intelligence could strengthen it, but everything we think about is bringing together shopper intelligence, SKU intelligence, and shipping intelligence essentially. And you can imagine how GoodDay's data that we will be bringing in through the GoodDay integration strengthens each and every one of those pillars. It's just a cool, when you get into the data side, it's a really cool problem because all of it is compounding value. So the more that we can push into an already strong machine learning foundation, the smarter we can help our brands be and how they're running their business every day. So yeah, future is bright for this partnership.
Awesome. All right. I want to call through some of the questions. We have a growing list of really great questions coming in. I wanted to just call out, I'm going to try to read through some of these. I would say, because we have 15 minutes, I think we probably get through a good number. If for the panelists here, if the question I call out is something you're like, oh, that's an interesting idea, noted, let us take that back. Just let's take the person's name and really try to follow up with them. If it's something you can answer live, all the better. And I think that'll start a good set of conversation. So I'm going to kind of start to go through these. There's a question early from Colin Freeze that was talking about return shipping fees. Are there any efforts currently happening on how to get this fee shown separately and not just a refund net down so it will flow properly into a tax platform like Avalara? This feels like a deep returns accounting problem. I just want to say there, if there's multiple rungs of returns accounting fray, that feels gets in there. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, this was actually one of the specific things that we worked with Ant, who's one of the product leaders at Loop, and has gone deep for years now on accounting side over there. We worked really closely with him on this while we were kind of doing our on-site intensive working sessions, and this is one of the specific things that we kind of called out where there's a Shopify kind of data model and how they handle the returns that obscures this exact thing. So how we've built our revenue recognition and just revenue ledger overall is to capture every single different one of these events in new kind of immutable entries. So you can have line item level entries, but you can also have header level entries into the revenue ledger. And so that returns fee is a header level kind of RMA return event that is captured in a separate entry in the ledger. And so, yeah, that one is split out because we can grab that's the benefit of us being deeply plugged into the Loop data and the Shopify data is we can grab that correct information from the Loop data and separate it out. Whereas if you were just plugged into Shopify, you wouldn't be able to really tell there too clearly. So yes, that's captured independently or distinctly in the GoodDay revenue ledger.
I love it. Can you talk about third-party warehouse integrations for returns not processed in-house?
Yeah, so this is, I mean, we had one of these setups at Chubby's. We used Inmar was the processor that we used. Every single return funneled back through them and got processed there. Third party site down the road from our 3PL, for example. But we used them for quite a while. Yeah, the cool thing about GoodDay, right, is like that return can go back to that location. We are integrated deeply into Loop to grab the destination shipping address from Loop and map that to each GoodDay location. So you'd have a returns location, returns processing center location, whatever you want to call it. That RMA gets sent back to there. But because we retain the lot from the original shipment, when you receive it back in, it's receives back in at that based upon that original lot with that lot cost. And then you can use a transfer order for any stuff that you want to restock back in your warehouse. You create a transfer order from there to do a bulk shipment, bulk transfer back over to your warehouse. We can even send on that transfer order an inbound shipment notice into the WMS to make sure that's a quick and smooth kind of receiving process against that transfer order. So keeps kind of one unbroken chain on the inventory lifecycle and should be able to handle that third party center just fine.
Cool. Hannah, I'm curious, do you all have any integrations into these kind of third party returns processing centers? I know you have a fair amount of WMS integrations at this point.
Yeah, like what, an example being?
An example would be like when Chubby's would have a return initiated in Loop, it would send it not to our core warehouse, but to like a processing unit offsite.
Oh, yes.
I forget what I think it's like a third party returns
Inmar.
processing. Inmar is the example, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I think you guys have some of these integrations as well. So I would say I think Loop separate of GoodDay has its own flows that it builds into those. But I just wanted to share that as well, Jan, if you weren't familiar with how Loop is working. But Jan, thank you for the question. That's amazing. Hannah, did you have any questions in there that you wanted to grab quickly? I can keep going.
I think the one from Noah.
Yep.
I think maybe if I could just clarify, I think what you're asking is, can Loop rate shop for return labels natively within the platform? Maybe just speak up if I'm misunderstanding the question. If that's it, yes, absolutely. And I can commit to following up with you after the webinar just to make sure that we get you what you need. We can definitely help you with that.
Awesome. I also just want to hit one quickly. Emily DeGrazia asked if Loop has a happy returns integration. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
You want to talk to that integration?
I sure do. She's just telling the room.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Great.
it was meant to be an exclamation point. Thank you, Emily. Yes, the integration's been live and being deepened for 4+ years and counting. We have hundreds of brands leveraging it today. Happy Returns is a drop-off and consolidation provider, and we work very closely with them.
Love it. And yes, Emily, we would like to bring you on to the GoodDay and Loop marketing team to help us market this thing. Killer job. All right. Will Gentry had a question in here. What will the handoff from Loop and GoodDay to our WMS Shapiro look like? Once a shirt is done being laundered and rebagged and tagged, what does the put away look like? And I think Will is also self-fulfilling, just for context, if I remember.
Yeah. Also Shapiro. So yeah, great question, Will. I think we'll probably have two ways of handling that. The first thing is when that return is kind of received in, it can be received into an unsellable state. So if you're doing that kind of, lightweight refurbishment, let's call it, laundering and rebagging and tagging, if that's just really just happening right there on site as kind of a normal flow, probably the quickest, easiest way is to just handle it receive it into unsellable, which we handle just as well through the RMA and return receipt. And then GoodDay can recognize the transfer from unsellable back into sellable stock. I'm using in unsellable, sellable, I'm using kind of partially Shapiro parlance here. But the other one is going to be an off-site refurbishment, right? Sometimes you may need to get it steam laundered more comprehensively. We do have a work order type of order that we are intending to turn towards this and add a third kind of outcome, which is that refurbishment. And that really then triggers a whole separate process of sending those goods out and bringing them back into the warehouse, creating a derivative lot to associate that incremental cost. So that's a piece we do intend to add probably in the coming months, which is the ability to not lose track of those goods if they do get sent out to a third-party site for refurbishment.
Wanted to call out a question from Olesia. Hopefully I didn't get that pronunciation wrong. But does GoodDay integration only work with returns initiated through Loop, or can it also display returns initiated manually via Shopify? Additionally, does the integration flag any past due returns that are due for a refund or have not yet been shipped?
I would say, some things we think are better left in Loop's workflows and policies, especially when it's like more customer service oriented stuff. The things that are going to be flagged and kind of note and have automated notifications from GoodDay are when like something's been delivered or shows as delivered to the warehouse, but has not yet been processed in a configurable amount of time. So let's say Garrett for his team wants his warehouse to be, processing every single return within 3 days. Well, then he can set a 3-day kind of time frame limit to post delivery return processing. And if something is not processed in that time frame, get a notification every single time that happens. So kind of an SLA management type thing, or at least some oversight and automated notifications. When we will push up to flags up to Loop when there's stuff wrong, let's say, or kind of unknown flags on from the warehouse. But then we'll rely on Loop to be driving the customer service oriented workflows, because they've built out a ton of more granular functionality there.
Yep. We'll take a note to follow up with you on that too. But I think the two things you asked about, past due returns due for refund and have not yet been shipped, absolutely we would cover for you on the Loop side. So we'll make sure to follow up.
Absolutely. The other one, I just wanted to call out Jenny Morrison, asked a really great question in here around Shopify and Loop and NetSuite. I would just call out, Jenny's calling out that there is the reliability of the posting to NetSuite and in the ERP in general is very, very hard. I just wanted to call out one thing. And again, I'm incredibly biased as it comes to ERPs. Dave and I are folks who have paid, I don't know, $4 million to NetSuite, so we have the right to say whatever we want. But the lack of reliability of these connectors has probably nothing to do with you and is true everywhere across the system. We had multiple employees whose entire job was to tell us if the data was coming in or not. So that is just a known thing. I would say the returns data is no different. It's mostly, in my humble opinion, an ERP thing and not the rest of the ecosystem. But it's exactly why we've taken the approach to own these integrations ourselves. It's why Hannah and Hannah's team and Dave and team from GoodDay all got in a room in Dallas for a week to hammer through this, because we want to have reliability in that connection, so that you, the brand, aren't sitting there saying it should be connected, it should be flowing, and it's not. Right. So I do think that is an issue with legacy ERPs generally that's creeping into the overall stack. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, it comes back a little bit, in my opinion, to why the system was built how it was, and kind of, right. NetSuite had an idea for, originally building for software companies of handling a credit memo, right, for accounting purposes. And then, so getting the operational data around inventory and returns and the different types of revenue outcomes, it just doesn't fit that well in it. So it's pretty dang hard, I know from talking to the Loop team, to just make it work within a pretty restrictive data model from NetSuite. So that's fundamentally why we have built how we have. It's to start with the operational data points and try and package them up nicely for the accounting side. To Garrett's request earlier, absolutely, near-term roadmap is to add that credit memo integration into QBO. Just make it just as easy as getting the invoices over there. Make it easy to get the credit memos over there, so that the accounting team has some layups. Over time, we're really excited to build out more robust invoicing, payments, credit memos, all that stuff directly in GoodDay, to enable more of a scaled out wholesale operation to really handle all that stuff through there and just integrate and reconcile with whatever the GL system is. So we do hope to be supporting that in the near future as well. And then one other thing from Alessia, the GoodDay integration only work with returns initiated through Loop. So right now, the revenue ledger is fully integrated with Shopify. So we would capture any, I forget what the team calls them, but let's say you refund shipping income because you missed a 2-day window or something like that, and it doesn't have an actual inventory set of events related to it, you would capture that still into the revenue ledger for GoodDay. Again, hopefully kind of trying to reduce some of those gaps and that can happen where that data may not be in loop because there's not a full kind of RMA associated with it. So that's one example. I think the inventory side, if it's a full return, I think that is on the roadmap, but we haven't added it. Right now, we are just really deeply integrated with Loop for the full RMA lifecycle on the e-com side. Wholesale side, though, to Garrett's point, what his team's already, I think, using is you can generate RMAs, credit memos, all that stuff off of existing sales orders in GoodDay on the wholesale side.
All right, team, we're at the end. Great work. Thank you to all of our panelists for grinding through that. That was good. We just rattled through 10 real questions. Hopefully everybody learned something from that. Garrett, want to first thank you for really investing the time here, leaning into both GoodDay and Loop's madness, being the first to get implemented. Thank you for diving in and building with us. Everybody go to Duvin, check out that sick gear right behind them. I have those rainbow trunks. They're sick. You can't quite see them. But anyway, thank you. And Hannah, thank you so much for diving in here with us. I know it's truly day one, but this returns accounting problem is a big, crazy, hairy one. And with time and effort and our innovative teams, we're going to go get it. So 100%. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Fun. Thank you all.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
All right. Appreciate you guys.